Hello, my fellow modeling and tabletop gaming enthusiasts, and welcome to the Mediocre Modeler Show. This week, we're going to do a little tutorial on how I like to paint white on my miniatures in sort of a airbrush chop method, kind of, sort of. By airbrush chop, I mean like slap chop, but instead of dry brushing, I use the airbrush to do all of my zenithal highlights. Pretty simple technique, pretty easy technique. I think it has pretty good results. If you're just trying to get through something quick, it's not going to work for everything, but there's a lot of models out there that it will work for. So without any further ado, let's head on down to the bench and see about painting some white. All right, so to demonstrate my process for painting white, we're going to use this Scout Trooper for Star Wars Legion. I just picked it up because I thought it'd be kind of cool, kind of be fun to paint. So I did a black prime. You can still see the black left, and then a quote-unquote airbrush chop. So I did neutral gray, or good mid-tone gray from a cool gray from about a 90-degree angle. Not quite a full 90. Then from about 45 did a brighter gray. In this case specifically I used Yeti white from the Army Painters air paint line. And then from just almost straight down we used some Vallejo, just monocolor flat white. So our first step is going to be to use some Apothecary white contrast paint, or you could use the equivalent speed paint or whatever you would prefer. You're going to want a, sorry I keep knocking the camera, I'm using my small tripod and it's small, not very steady. So to start, and you can be fairly messy at this point because there's a reason we're doing the white first. So basically everything that's going to be white, just get that Apothecary white really good on there in between all of the, oh, there we go. In between all the cracks and crevices. And I've got to have the box art off to the side there so I can reference what's going to be white and what is not. I really do enjoy this sort of airbrush chop method for just simple, quick figures. Like all my stuff from Don't Look Back works really well on that. Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff works amazingly well. If you do get something, or you do get some of this contrast on something that is not going to be white, it doesn't matter because we're going to be covering that up completely before we even finish our white portion of the paint job. And again, I'm just not entirely sure what all is going to be white and what is going to be black. I mean, these guys are going to be nice because they're just white and black. So it should make the paint job fairly easy. I've never painted anything for Star Wars Legion before, so I'm not really sure. I don't know what I'm doing, if I'm being completely honest. And again, just peeking back to refer to the box art for this process. And I think that's about everything because it looks like a lot of this is actually going to be black in the end on these Scout Troopers. So we've got all the stuff that we're going to end up white painted. So I'm going to go put this in front of the fan for just a couple of minutes and then we'll be right back to move on to the next step. Okay, so our Apothecary white is dry. So our next step is going to be to give it a black wash. In this case, I am using Nuln Oil. You can use whatever black wash you've got. Take a contrast paint, thin it down to a wash consistency, whatever you want to do. So we're going to just do the exact same thing we did before. We're going to apply our black wash all over the areas that we want to be white. You know, again, since we are using a wash, you know, if it starts pooling in places you don't want it to, like the vents in the back of this helmet, we kind of do want it to pool there. But any other spots, you know, make sure that it's not pooling too much. If it's a spot that's supposed to be in shadow, maybe you're all right. But, you know, use your best judgment on that. And it's obviously, you know, it seems a little counterintuitive to paint black all over something that you want to be white. But trust me, in the end, it's going to work out great. It's gonna be awesome. Been a hot minute since I did a painting tutorial, hadn't it? I'm sure we'll get plenty of those coming up. I kind of lugged Nuln Oil over like the Vallejo Game Color wash just a little bit. I feel like it's just a little bit thinner. It's definitely not the same since they changed the formula a number of years ago. I was like, I think shortly after they discontinued the original formula, I used the very last of my original Nuln Oil, painting a knight, an Imperial Knight. Switched over, didn't like it as much, and now I'm kind of fine with it. I use the Army Painter Strong Tone in place of Agrax Earthshade these days, but I still feel like we get pretty decent results. I like the Strong Tone, to be honest. And I also got some Soft Tone, which works really good for certain applications as well. It's all a matter of preference, I guess. Although I'm not happy about MIG changing the formula for dark or olive drab base when they switched from ammo to the Atom line. That changed up how some of my vehicles looked at. Yeah, I was a little irritated by that. Okay, so there we go. We've got all of our areas covered in our black wash. So again, I'm going to put this in front of the fan, get this dried up, and then we'll come back for our final step in painting white. Now our black wash is fully dry, which you want to make sure it's fully dry because this next step is going to be dry brushing some pure white. So I've got my homemade texture pad here. It's just a small cutting mat sprayed with some self-etching automotive primer that has kind of a grainy finish. Works pretty well. I've got my own little dampening pad made out of some medicine cups and a piece of packing foam. I'm going to use, a fairly decent sized makeup brush. Definitely a cheap makeup brush. These things work great. So we're going to go ahead and shake up our paint, which I should have done off camera again, but I didn't. That's okay. It happens. And then we're going to get a bit out on our palette. I do have a number of models. That is way more paint than we actually need. But I've got a trio of models off screen that I'm going to work on doing the same step afterwards. So get my brush just a little bit damp. You can tell there's kind of a little bit of moisture rubbing off. That's about perfect. Get some paint on our brush and then just start working it in. Try to keep this on screen as best I can for y'all. Feel like we got just a little bit too much on there still. That's about what we want, I think. Okay, so then just go to town and dry brush. Kind of flick, catch those edges, and you can see we're not there yet, but that's the nice thing is we can build this up in time. We can also get shadows for those harder to reach places, which will work out pretty well. The reason I like to do anything that's white first is so I can dry brush it, get paint everywhere, and then when I come in with all my other colors, I cover up all the spots where I got white that didn't need it. And it is going to look very much like a dry brush, but that's okay. And this is pretty much slap chop, so it's just another way to get models onto the table relatively quickly. And there are going to be spots where you can't reach very easily. The nice thing about that is there are spots that would probably be in shadow, so if they are a little bit darker, it kind of works out better for you in the end. But definitely some of these more prominent spots, like having a hard time getting to his little cod piece here, getting a good highlight on that. And if you wanted to, you could go in with a brighter color or a slightly darker color, like a dark gray or something. Not dark gray, not dark gray. Like a really light gray, and give it a dry brush or two. Kind of build the color back up in layers if you wanted. I generally don't. I'll just go straight to this. You can see here I got this big flat spot in the middle of his helmet. It's maybe not getting quite as much color as I was hoping. Just kind of work your way around the model, make sure you're getting all those spots that you want to have that. And once we do the black bodysuit, it is going to stand out a lot more. Of course, you could always go in and layer some stuff. With white, typically I do this, but then I don't highlight. Like when I'm doing my other slap chop style, I will, with the other colors, I will or when I do the same style, but with colors other than white, I'll go in and do just some edge highlights to kind of bring it up a little bit. Tends to work really well. But again, this is just my method. You can certainly give that a try, see how you like it. Maybe it works for you, maybe it doesn't. Maybe you want to just continue doing layering. But I found this works really well for me, just to get some of those quick models done, looking fairly decent in a manner that I'm happy with, which, trust me, is not an easy task for me. And you can see, you know, I'm really building up that color. And again, it's going to look a lot different when we get the black painted on them. I don't have any pictures of the back of this, so I'm not sure if this piece here, kind of the back of his little bodysuit here, is supposed to be white or not. The front is, but I can't tell if that's like a break or something. Well, we'll figure it out. And again, yeah. So that is sort of my quick-ish. Again, just go till you're happy. I'm just finding stuff when I look through the camera here that it's like I could get a little bit better on there. And I think we're starting to get there. You don't want it to just be fully bright white. Or maybe you do. But so that's kind of how I just sort of slap chop, airbrush chop white. So I'll go ahead and finish getting this guy all painted up, and then we'll come back and see how it looks with all the rest of the colors done. And here we are, all finished up with our white armored scout trooper. So painted them all up. The only thing I did additionally was add some white edge highlights with that same just plain white that we used to do the final dry brushing. Kind of gives it just a final little standout. And then of course based it. Try to give it sort of a forest feel. But you can see, there we go. Fairly quick and easy method for painting white. Certainly not, you know, the most, I mean, you can still see there's areas where it didn't quite cover, which is fine because it gives it some shadow. But here's some other examples of the same method in action. So we've got She-Hulk here for Marvel Crisis Protocol. And it's kind of washed out by the lights a little bit. But you can see all of this white was done using that same method. You can see we definitely get some shadows in there. And then again, I went in, gave it some quick white highlights just on the edges. We've got Seth the Killer here for Don't Look Back. Just his white shirt was done with that same method. Turns out pretty well. And then we've got our little kangaroo rover for Lunar. This is an example of where it's not the most ideal application of the process, because you can see it's got these large flat areas, which are more difficult to really cover properly using this method. But again, it doesn't look too bad. Throw some little extra color on there and it turns out pretty well, I think. And again, just some white highlights on kind of the highest, sharpest edges, just to kind of give it a little bit of extra oomph, a little extra punch to it. But yeah, works pretty well. You can see why I always, if I'm going to do white, I'm going to do this first, because then I can just cover over all of it with all of the darker colors that I'm going to be using. Well, there you have it, folks. That is how I like to paint white when I'm doing sort of a slap chop, airbrush chop method. Works out pretty well. It's pretty quick. It saves you a lot of time and hassle just trying to layer white over any other color. Yeah, definitely give it a try. I think you probably like the results. It's not perfect for everything. You know, large open spaces, flat spaces, it's not going to work perfectly, but anything with a lot of folds, contours, things like that, sharp edges, I think it's going to work out pretty well for you. So, yeah. Well, the Conflict 47 pre-order has been up for a couple of days now. I think it was about 20 minutes after it went live, I had completed my order. So the night before, so the day that Friday, July 4th is when pre-orders went live. National holiday here in the States, so I had the day off work. That night, it was probably about 8:30. I think we got home from the kids' baseball games, and I tried to be a little cheeky and cleared my browser history and tried to go to the UK website, thinking, oh hey, pre-orders go live at like midnight or something, and I can see what all's going up for pre-order. So I went to the site, picked the UK as my region. I saw, oh hey, there's a new, it even has a red new tab on it for Conflict 47. Yeah, it didn't take anything, just took all the old models. So that didn't work. Then I had to get up at about 4 a.m. Friday to put a pork shoulder on my smoker and hopped on the website again. Nothing. I was kind of disappointed, but then someone pointed out there was a counter on the website. It still had a few more hours on it, so that's when I figured, oh, it's going to be about 9 a.m. My time when the pre-orders go live. So I ended up, right about 9 o'clock, hopped on my phone, headed on over there, checked out all the different bundles they had. I mean, a lot of different bundles. Because my original plan was, okay, I'm going to get the two-player starter set. I'm going to get the faction starter for the US, faction starter for the Germans, and the book, right? Figuring it's like, probably going to be about $400. No. Figuring it's like, I'm guessing we're going to be about $550, something like that. And one thing I do want to point out from my last video or the video before that, I was talking about the Band of Brothers starter set. I was actually referring to Battle of the Bulge for bolt action. But turns out I was actually pretty close with my estimates. I don't think I said them out loud, but I was figuring probably about 150, 200 for the two-player starter, and then 150 to 175 for the faction starters, and then 50 for the book. I was pretty close on that. The book was like 64. But what I ended up doing was the Mega Rift Buster or the Rift Buster Mega Bundle. So that's the two-player starter set. You get the U.S. starter army, the Axis or German starter army. You get the book. You get a dice bag. The book, you get your choice of one of the two special edition figures, because there are two of them that make a diorama. One U.S. Firefly reloading, a German Stall Trooper reloading, and there's like a wall in between. You are only able to get, you could pick one of the two figures if you bought the book. You could get the whole diorama if you spend, it was like $320 or more. The sale price on, air quotes, list price for the Rift Buster bundle was $600, which is the actual price of everything, added up individually. But they were selling that for like $568, I think. And then I had enough Warlord points to get like a $24 discount on top of that. So I think I ended up spending a little less than $550 on it. I mean, that is a lot of money. It's also going to be a lot of models. I mean, that is the single largest gaming purchase I have ever made. And shortly before the pre-orders went live, I was messaged by a friend of mine and started a group chat saying that they needed to make sure that the number of rivets on the linebacker walker were counted correctly before you-know-who has a meltdown. You-know-who referring to me. Yeah, it's quite humorous. I thought it was really hilarious. Honestly, I had to even show my wife. But so I've got that coming. That's going to be awesome. I can't wait until September. There were a couple of new models revealed when the pre-orders went up. So there's the new Nachtleben, like the not Nachtjager, but still, yeah, the new kind of like inhuman, grotesque German project warrior things. Those are new. I can't remember if they're plastic or resin though. I should probably look that up. And then there's also a new Panzer IV-X. So instead of just the regular Panzer IV with the Schwerfeld projector, it's got a different turret and it's now on great big legs. So it's a great big walker. So it looks pretty cool. And that comes in the German starter army. So, okay, we'll just briefly run through this because I'm still excited about it. So the two-player starter set is, for the US, you get 12 Fireflies, a starter set exclusive platoon commander, and you get a linebacker walker. For the Germans, you get a Vogelspinner. I think it's either 3 or 6 of the new Stalltruppen, plus a box exclusive Platoon Commander, and then I think you get, it's either 5 or 6 of the new Nachleben. I don't know how to actually pronounce that. I don't know German. The U.S. Starter Army, you get, I think, 12 more Fireflies, another box exclusive Platoon Commander, you get another linebacker, and you get a Tesla Stewart. So that'll be kind of cool. The German Starter Army then also includes, is same way, that's where you get the Panzer IV-X, another exclusive Platoon Commander, I think maybe 3 or 6 more of the Stahltruppen. I can't remember all exactly what comes in everything. But hit the link in the description. That'll take you right to the Warlord website, and then you can figure it out. I know. Because, I mean, I think I already talked about the mega bundle that I ordered. So basically I get one of everything, plus the book. Plus, if you pre-order the book before July 31st, you will get a free PDF of the book when it releases, on release day, coming this September. So that would be pretty cool too. They've also got a couple of new dice bags available. There's a generic Conflict 47 one, a US one, and a German one. There's also various sets of Rift dice that you can buy. And a lot of these starter sets come with order dice and Rift dice. So the order dice tells us it's going to play very similar to bolt action because you still need the order dice. And we kind of already knew that. So that's going to be pretty cool. I'm very much looking forward to it. I think the sculpts on some of these things are really cool. I think it's going to be fun to like take some of the new, referring specifically to the new German vehicle. So the new Panzer IV-X and the Vogelspinner. Take the new tech that's got, inspired by the original tech, the original vehicles and stuff, and then apply like a historically accurate color scheme to it. I think that's going to be pretty cool. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, I was really excited about that. Yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, anyway, hope you enjoyed learning how I paint white, just how I do it. Not saying it's the best way, it's just a quick way to do it. If you're ever struggling with it, just give it a try. As always, check out those links for social media as well as that Warlord Games affiliate link. That would definitely be awesome. If you're going to pick up some Conflict 47 stuff, some bolt action stuff, some Hail Caesar, definitely give that link a click and do it through that link, and you can help me out a little bit. So hope you folks enjoyed it. Really do appreciate you watching. If you have any comments, just let me know down below. So until next time, folks, may your paints be thin, your brushes be pointy, and your dice be hot.